Compensation benefits have long played a critical role in the American labor market. Simply put, businesses pay insurance for claims if a worker is injured on the job. The employee gives up the right to sue, but the employer pays medical costs and part of the wages while the worker recovers. But a new investigation by ProPublica and NPR finds workers' comp is being substantially eroded. Over the past couple decades, legislators in more than 30 states have passed laws reducing benefits or making it more difficult in many cases to qualify for them. States have also cut off benefits after arbitrary time limits. So, Howard Burkus, this is not atypical for these individuals who are hurt. And what we've learned is there's a wide discrepancy from state to state in terms of how much people get for the kind of injury they have.
Oh, yeah, and this is really apparent when you talk about catastrophic injuries like arm amputations. So we looked at, we visited with two workers, for example, both living near the Alabama-Georgia border. On the Alabama side of the border, the worker who lost his arm in an industrial accident looked like he would get maybe about $48,000 maximum in his lifetime as compensation for his injury in weekly payments and in compensation for the loss of his arm. But just across the border in Georgia, the worker there who had a nearly identical injury and an arm amputation, nearly identical age at the time of his injury, he'll get somewhere in the neighborhood of $700,000 more over the course of his lifetime. That's if he doesn't go back to work. And the difference is that in Alabama, it's considered a partial disability, losing an arm. In Georgia, it's considered a catastrophic injury, something that's going to affect you for the rest of your life. So there's these dramatic differences from state to state, and that's what some people see as the inherent unfairness of this system. But for the state line, one worker might be taken care of, another might be in financial ruin.
Michael Graybell, just quickly, is there any move underway to try to even this out around the country?
Well, there's been some attention from the federal government, but and OSHA, but obviously these are state programs, and the federal government has very little control over what states do. There's a little bit of a push with the concerns about cost shifting to things like Social Security, disability, and Medicare to perhaps address those problems. But hopefully our stories will shine some light on this and create some attention. You know, lawmakers told us that if the stories that we pointed out are a pattern, it was something they wanted to take a look at.
And just finally, Michael Graybell, you both were telling me that there's a constituency for business arguing for these changes in the state legislatures, but no real constituency representing workers.
Yeah, the one thing that we heard over and over again, you know, is businesses seem to have the ear of the legislatures making these changes, and there's really no constituency for the future injured worker because most people don't think about getting hurt until it happens.
Michael Graybell and Howard Burkus, it's a very powerful series of stories. We thank you both.
So this is from Darren. Darren's very passionate about this, and I think I've simplified his basic question, but it really stems about how we are letting down our injured workers. And she's wondering, do you support Senator Sanders' call for federal oversight of state work comp systems? Feels like we are really letting our injured workers down in California, and wonder what you thought about that.
Yeah, so, you know, in California, we have a lot of issues that I think that most people just keep saying they're state issues. But I think at the federal level, there is always something that we can do. And that is always done by incentives, right? You know, here in California, I used to work in construction, and I used to see how workman's comp used to work. In fact, my boyfriend, he's actually one of the people who was injured here in California. And after you meet a certain amount of days, you're kicked off the program. So you either have to, you're rushed to either settle with the company that you were hurt with. And the deals aren't really there. And there's really no support at the state level to guide you through the process. And so there's really no oversight. I mean, so a lot of these companies are getting away with really murder. They're paying out people for fractures to their spine, you know, at $10,000, $17,000 when they know that the lifelong care is going to be well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
My name is Shannon Allen, and I am an injured, homeless Amazon employee. If it was not for the World Socialist website, my story would have never gotten out there. This is my eviction letter. Amazon Fulfillment Center right here. It's my new home. And got my pillow and blanket and stuff in the back. Recently, Bernie Sanders took a number of my videos from YouTube that I had posted and spliced them together with clips from his speeches and used my situation to boost his own political profile. Let me clarify, I am not a Bernie Sanders supporter. He is just another Democratic Party politician whose job is to keep workers like me. I think that we definitely need to link up everybody that is, you know, part of the working class, and because people are scared to come forward. They are scared to come forward. I've talked to many people from Walmart and from other places of business, and they're scared to come forward because of the repercussions of getting fired. But what we do have is we can build that rank and file committee, and that way we all have job security, and that way we all get paid what we deserve to be paid. You know, I get paid $15 an hour now, thanks to Bernie Sanders, but it was all just a joke. It was all just a publicity stunt. $15 an hour, I was only $1.15 away from $15 an hour when he did this. You know, I was still entitled to 2 more raises.
Hi, I'm Darren Ray Fonso, an injured worker from Washington State. And what I would like to know, and many other injured workers across this country, especially long-time injured workers, many people who have been fighting their cases for over 5 years, have figured out, and from both parties, both sides, Republican, Democrats, and even in the middle, whatever, long-time injured workers advocates that have been at it for more than 5 years know what is needed is some minimum federal oversight. We've been told that by Senator Patty Murray, Tom Perez, and Senator Bernie Sanders. So we've had OSHA and Labor in the Labor Department also sign off on that, telling us that 33 states are failing our injured workers. And that what we need is some basic minimum federal oversight. And so what I am perplexed by at this time as an injured worker in America is why are our socialists failing to step up and represent us and fight for our grand bargain and our workers' comp systems, and not allow it to be eroded away as is being done? Why does Socialist Savant out of here in Seattle, who I've been begging for her to help me step up and fight for the injured workers and the minimum federal oversight that even Senator Sanders 4 years ago in 2015 told us we all needed, which is perplexing. Why is he silent today when he asked for that 4 years ago and put it in writing that that's what the injured workers of America needed, yet when he had the opportunity to share Shannon Allen's story, an injured Amazon worker, like she has every reason to be upset with him because he just used her to push together our other agendas of 15 an hour rather than telling the truth about the needed minimum federal oversight. But yet now you got to look at the World Socialist and Shannon Allen and kind of go question that too and say, well, what the heck's going on here when they're they're fighting for anti-union rank and file committees, as they're calling themselves socialists. And Shannon Allen allowed her work comp grief and the Amazon injured work comp grief just to be used by these people to push for rank and file committee. So how is that any different than what Senator Sanders was doing just to push for his social agenda, where now injured Amazon worker Shannon Allen is using the Amazon injured workers grief just to push for this other agenda, which seems to be anti-union to me, when you want rank and file committees versus unions. So it's perplexing to me at this point to as an injured worker in America, fighting for this minimum federal standards that we were told by basically the liberal left that we've needed for a long time now, and also we were told that this commission that we're trying to get going again, the Federal Commission, was something that was done during the Nixon administration. And that's all we're asking for, again, is another bilateral commission to come together with some minimum federal standards, like we have a minimum federal wage, so that we can take care of the injured workers of America and not have this competing race of states competing against each other in a race to the bottom to see who can harm their injured workers the most. I'm just going to leave it at that, and I just wanted to bring this to people's attention, and I want to know why the world socialists aren't stepping up and fighting for the minimum federal oversight instead of just telling me, well, rank and file is going to be at rank and file committees at Amazon and GM are going to resolve the injured workers issue when that doesn't do anything to resolve our issue. And the only thing that will do that is the minimum federal standards. And so this distraction with the rank and file committees from the one world socialists, and then the other distraction with Bernie Sanders with just Medicare for all or 15 an hour, while he says nothing about the minimum federal standards for the injured workers, then this is where the failure is at here. This is why we are failing the injured workers of America, when all of these people, Bernie Sanders, who told us this needed to be done, won't even step up and continue to tell us that it still needs to be done. Then that's why we are failing the injured workers of America. And this should piss you off no matter what party you're from if you're an injured worker in America today. We've been told for 30 years what needs to be done to stop this war that's being waged on us through state laws, yet when it comes time to put it on everybody's table, everybody has alternative solutions to the minimum federal standards. Everybody has told up top, some smart people told us injured workers on the bottom we need, from both parties even. This is egregious. When Senator Sanders and the world socialists won't even step up and represent us with the minimum federal standards that are needed. That's why we are failing the injured workers of America today. I want to say one more thing. It's insulting for the new injured workers coming on that you've only been in your battle for 1 or 2 years to try and tell us injured workers, some of them that have been at it for 30 years, that we don't know what we're doing. And that's why it's perplexing to me. Like I say, I've got injured workers that are from Republican side and some that are from the Democrat side that have been at it for 10, 12, 15, and 30 years. And the conclusion and the collective minds that have come together over that time have been that we need this minimum federal oversight. So for all of these people that claim to be for labor and injured workers and for the working class not to step up and represent us and fight for our grand bargain that we lifted and threw over cars and drew blood for almost 100 years ago, then this is egregious. And no, it was never the greatest deal in the world, but it has been becoming a worse deal because we've had people figure out how to profit and rob from labor in a system that was meant to try and help labor to start with. And that's what we need to fix, and that's why we need these minimum federal laws with some teeth to rein in these states that allow themselves to be prostituted by the business community. Thank you and have a good day. I hope that the world socialists and Bernie Sanders socialists and Alexander Ocasio-Cortez and Kashmir Sawant from Seattle will all start fighting for the minimum federal oversight. Everybody told us injured workers in America we need. It's egregious at this time. Thank you and have a good day. And it's insulting. It adds insult to injury when we are told the solution and nobody will put that solution on the table for us. That is making our mental health go even worse because nobody will help us put the solution on the table, even though everybody said, here, that is the solution, but nobody puts it on the table for us. That harms our mental health even more so. It adds insult to injury. So thank you and have a good day.